Hey there, YouTubers. Welcome to my channel here. If you're a veteran of this channel, you see I almost always wear a hat, but that doesn't really, there's exceptions to that. Um, I have I talk about my haircut in some of my videos too. In other words, the Back to the Future wild hair guy. I think of myself as sort of coming from the future, but not in any literal, it's not like I'm trying to make you believe that. It's more like I have a perspective where I look at this as very much in the past, like maybe 100 years ago. Whatever we're going through is long over, and that's an interesting perspective to cultivate. It's kind of a form of alienation, which I take as a good word. Like to be alienation is to distance yourself from some current comforting worldview where you feel immersed, and to alienate yourself is to get free of it in some ways. So it's a liberating thing. And I say that to introduce Martian math. In other words, alienation might mean thinking more like a Martian. And I like Martian because we know there's no like Martian civilization. In the past, people scared themselves with that possibility, but I think we've seen the light on that. If anything, I do worry about the plutonium in there blowing around. I hope those um, probes are secure. They don't get smashed because that'll contaminate the whole planet. It's a big risk people take without really taking the time to get permission either. That's the story of Mars, right? People just going to go there and junk it up, and they don't feel like they need to coordinate with each other, get too much feedback. That's the idea of capitalism is I can do it if I have the money to do it, right? I don't need to ask you. Anyway, polyhedrons, networks, graphs, and so on. You'll remember in the very last video, the one I just made last time, 5 days ago only, I left it that I was hoping someone would jump in and connect the synergetics page on Wikipedia to the tetrahedron page on Wikipedia. And by tetrahedron page, I'm scrolling through it now. You see how much we know about the tetrahedron, tons, right? It's like this thing has been researched for hundreds and hundreds of years, and there's a lot of thought, and no one in this area of practice usually believes that there's much to say that could be different or new. Like, there's no way you're going to shoehorn anything major into this page anymore. Now, I would beg to differ insofar as like quadrate coordinates and unit volume tetrahedron and the whole volumes table that we develop here in synergetics, right? American Transcendentalism, a la 1900s, moving on into 2021, 2022, and so on. Like here we are, the first fifth of the 21st century, excuse me, the numbering has always been kind of crazy. 2000s is 21st century, of course. We're already 50 or 20% into it, a fifth. And we're not really focused on at all what was innovated in synergetics regarding using the tetrahedron as a unit of volume, but with edges the same as the isotropic vector matrix, meaning not just the weird irrational edges you would need to have a tetrahedron of volume 1, but edges of two radii or one diameter. Regular tetrahedron, edges 1, volume 1. That's nowhere talked about on this page as a possibility other than, so here's what happened. I was saying, since I'm clearly biased, and here I am pushing again synergetics, which is what this channel does, why no one's going to take me seriously trying to insert some synergetics in here. Like, there's that Kirby guy. We need some peer review, blah, blah. But I realized after and checking the history of the page that the only thing keeping synergetics out of the See Also section, which is way at the bottom, okay, there's popular culture just went by, or actually popular culture is separate from just generic, what do they call it, applications. Okay, so there's applications, there's popular culture, then we get to the graph, tetrahedral graph, which is what I'm saying, graph theory connects, and here's synergetics Fuller. That link I realized I could add, and the only reason it was taken out earlier is because it used to go to this disambiguation page, because a guy named Haken also decided to use synergetics as his, book title. So there was this original confusion, and the tetrahedron page linked to the confusion page or disambiguation page. And so an editor on tetrahedron just said, we don't want to go to a fork in the road with our link, so I'll take this out. He didn't fix it though. Like, there was a way to fix it, which was just go straight to this page, go to synergetics a la Buckminster Fuller, and I linked synergetics back to tetrahedron right in the second paragraph, just to show this is important, right? I don't think talking about Fuller and not talking about tetrahedron is very coherent. If you're out there espousing the greatness of Bucky as a philosopher, but you don't use anything of his synergetics, especially tetrahedral accounting, then I think you're more along for the hype than for the content and substance, right? Not even just domes, right? It's got to have the tetrahedron. Don't write about Bucky if you're not going to write about the tetrahedron, let alone make movies, because all that groundwork has been done. All the articles and movies that we need that don't mention the tetrahedron, they're done. We've got them. They're out there. From now forward, I hope you mention the tetrahedron, otherwise you're blowing smoke, really. So we've got that link, and the details people can find if they become more interested. And this is what I'm looking for. Bridging the gap, the CP Snow gap, getting more of that well-roundedness back in the picture. As one of my commenters said, is that what I'm trying to do? Get back to well-rounded and liberal arts and all that kind of stuff? Yeah, in a way, but in a specific way. Like, times moved on, the curriculum has changed. We need to not just teach what we taught 100 years ago in like 1920 or whatever. This is 2022. So we have different, like Chris Hedges here, he talks a lot about kind of the death of American democracy. By the way, I just watched MLK FBI. That was a name of a movie. That's actually the title of the movie. And we learned a lot about the FBI's surveillance of MLK, but more important, why they did it. Was civil rights really such a horrible thing? Like, why would the FBI fight MLK that much? And it had to do, of course, with the whole communist thing and the USSR. And to this day, that inertia of fighting communism is ingrained very deeply. No one even knows what communism means, hardly. Like, if you read the latest anthropology, it's very unclear. It's all been undermined. There's just sand under that. That whole lingo, capitalist versus communist, whatever. It's like, don't think we have to think that way going forward, and don't think looking back we're necessarily going to respect your lack of thought. It's cool. This maybe I should take this call. Let's see if it's a junk call. Hello? Hello? Trashing Hilton Hotels, somebody destroying Hilton Hotels' reputation. I don't know why Hilton allows that, It really, really is hurtful to Hilton. Anyway, it's not my problem. So, we're all fixed up here with, finally, a link going back and forth between synergetics and tetrahedron. And this, I think, will help a few open-minded people who don't, younger people probably, who don't think that it's exhaustive what we've got on the tetrahedron here. We do have another way of bridging the gap, the CP snow chasm between the humanities and STEM, as I call it, or many call it, using a new curriculum. And that's what this channel is about. And I hope you stick around and watch a few other videos, not just this one, because they all hang together and there's a lot of history here. I'm showing you basically what a college university course that includes a lot of Bucky stuff might look like. And there's a lot of math science, but there's also a lot of humanities and literature and so on. So it's a good, well-rounded liberal arts kind of course, and it will help you in the future. And my belief is my belief, because you'll understand better what's going on. Like, for example, I was saying Chris Hedges. I think he would understand the world better if he would read Grunch of Giants, or maybe he has. But, like, I wouldn't think anyone high up, like in the CIA, could not read Grunch of Giants. You couldn't take them seriously because the CIA is on every page in that book almost. So if you haven't read Grunch of Giants, then don't think you understand American history at all. See, I'm being kind of polemical there. Like, you're really out of it if you haven't read Grunch of Giants. I've got a whole page just called grunch.net, so I'm self-promoting, you could say. No one's paying me for this. I'm just saying, hey, YouTube, obviously I'm self-promoting and talking about Grunch of Giants because I have grunch.net as a domain. So obviously, you need to take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. Obviously. You know that, right? Okay. Nevertheless, interesting stuff, and hope to see you down the road.